Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's version of Coffee with a Career Coach. I have some pretty awesome guests. One familiar face that you guys have been seeing the past few weeks who has been doing an awesome job. We have Abby back with us. And then I have a new guest with me who works at our front desk and who has been a pretty rock star student. We have Faith with us. So I'll let them introduce themselves in just a minute. But just a quick introduction if you don't watch every week. My name is Erica O'Toole. I am an assistant director in our office, and I work with the College of Education and Human Services, as well as our global campus students. I also supervise our First Impressions program and our outreach program. And today, as usual, I am drinking my iced coffee. So my husband is on spring break. He's a teacher, and he went out and got me coffee this morning. So big shout out to him. And I am drinking it out of my mom fuel cup because I have a little 2-year-old and coffee fuels my life most of the time. So I have my Big V iced coffee with caramel marble and white lightning syrup, which is my fave. You guys all know that if you watch usually. So please in the comments, feel free to share what you're drinking today in your coffee or juice, because Abby always brings juice or water. So feel free to share that too. And I am going to go ahead and hand it over to Abby to introduce herself.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be back again. It's been a fun last few weeks. My name is Abby Faribault. I'm a graduate assistant here at the Career Development Center. I'm also an advisor, a student advisor for a student organization called More Than a Body. And now I am officially a kind of supervisor / mentor for my new program, Fit for Hire, for our College of Arts and Media students to enhance their career and professional development. And today, for some reason, even though I don't drink coffee, I have a lot of mugs. So today I brought this yellow mug and I'm just drinking water because I didn't have time to get juice. So I'm just hydrating myself, and it's yellow, which is my favorite color, and so is orange. So that's a little bit about me today. Faith.
Wonderful. Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Faith Kenyon. I am a junior here at Central. I'm majoring in information systems, which is within the College of Business, and minoring in management. And then outside of that, I work at the Career Development Center at the front desk, and I'm also a mock interviewer there. And then I'm also in Alpha Kappa Psi, which is a professional business fraternity, and I'm the VP of membership there. Today, for what I'm drinking, I am drinking like iced coffee, just like black with almond milk. And yeah, I put it in a mason jar because it makes me feel kind of cute, makes it taste better. I think it's all like mental. But yeah, super happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And we love the metal straw.
We do, yes.
We do. We were just talking about sustainability. So awesome job with that, Faith.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So today we brought Faith on. In the past couple of weeks, we've been talking from a student perspective, a graduate student perspective with Abby, but bringing Faith on to get even deeper into that with a undergraduate student perspective. So today we're going to talk about leadership in a virtual setting, how to list that on your resume, and how to develop professionally virtually, because we are really seeing that so much now with COVID going on. And Faith is a prime example of how to develop yourself professionally, especially virtually right now. So involved in many different things. She has been a great leader on our campus and within our office. And so we just want to have a conversation around that. And as always, if you guys have questions, please feel free to ask those in the chat. I will bring those up on the screen and ask Faith and Abby if you do have any questions for us. So let me go ahead and get started. We do have some questions pre-planned if you don't have any questions for us right away, but please keep those coming because we always want to get your questions answered first. So how can students get involved in the virtual environment of college right now, in your opinion? And this, both Faith and Abby, I'm sure you both have experience in that right now.
Yeah, definitely. I'll go ahead and start us off. So something I think that is like the main starting point with getting involved in a virtual environment is mindset. I think that with everything being from home, it's very easy to be complacent and just get comfortable, not really going to things, staying in your home for the sake of safety. But if you put yourself in this mindset of, okay, I'm going to put myself out of my comfort zone and it's going to push me and allow me to grow, I think that that is the perfect starting point in terms of really figuring out how to get involved. The next thing, like more specific things I would say, is reach out to people that you know. Ask around, and it's just the concept of networking. If you know a friend that goes to a thing on Wednesday nights, ask them about that. Ask them what it's centered around, if it's beneficial to them, if they enjoy it, and just don't be afraid to put yourself out of your comfort zone and ask professors. Read like the weekly newsletters that come out to your emails on Mondays from the Student Activity Involvement Center. There's great opportunities. You just have to kind of be in this place mentally to look for it. So I think that that is probably the most important thing when it comes to getting involved, especially in a virtual environment. Abby, do you have any thoughts to add to it?
Oh, for sure. I was going to say, in my personal experience, when I was looking into RSOs that I could join as a graduate student, because sometimes there's that barrier that grad students can't join undergrad organizations, I was looking into the RSOs on Engage page and just finding what organizations matched my interests and my passions, and seeing, then I reached out to the president or the email that was provided on their page and seeing if I could join. But just even that tool of Engage, and they post their events for almost all of the organizations on there as well. And that's a really good way to kind of stay involved. And I actually got involved in Organization of Women Leadership because of Engage. So it's a really helpful tool. And I think a lot of CMU students have access to it. So I would highly recommend using that as your sort of gateway into getting involved on campus, or even just getting a job on or off campus. We, like, on one hand, there's the student leadership with being an RSO, but also if you get a job, you're still able to connect with students, especially if it's an on-campus job, and be able to kind of network that way and get some extra money while you're doing so. So that's never a bad thing.
No kidding. Yeah, definitely. I think with Engage, it's super helpful because it has like the contact information for the student leaders in that RSO. So don't be afraid to send an email, like shoot your shot. Don't be afraid to put yourself out of that, comfort zone that we all have. And another thing I was thinking of is don't be afraid to drag your friends to it with you.
That's a good point.
And if it's a virtual WebEx, of course that's going to be intimidating and kind of awkward. So try to have your camera on and drag your friends so it's less scary. I think that that's something that, especially as college students, we're used to kind of being surrounded. So that's definitely something else.
Yeah. And I would add to that too, two things. First of all, I think, with COVID, obviously a lot of these events are virtual. So yes, it can be intimidating. So I like, Faith, that you said bring your friends. It can be helpful. Make them come virtually with you. But, some things are starting to pick up in person again. Small gatherings, small in-person events, through Engage or on campus. And they're safe events. Our campus is prides itself on making sure everything that they are hosting is very safe. So there's very small things going on campus. There's not much, but if you see like a small workshop or something very small happening, know that our university is taking every step that they can to make that safe. So that's one thing I wanted to add. The other thing I wanted to add is from a perspective of, a working professional at the university in career development, how important it is that you get involved right now. I think Faith started to talk a little bit about that, how easy it is to get complacent, but it is so important right now because employers are looking at, okay, we had this now going on 1.5 years of COVID. And yes, there were so many reasons to get complacent and not get involved, but how many of you got out there and did these virtual events and got yourself involved and had things to add to your resume? And that is so important right now.
Very much so.
So another thing just to add, to see if you guys have anything to add to this, what are some ways to ease the transition? I think you kind of covered that, Faith, but if you have anything to add, and then good ways to get involved in WebEx and not make it awkward, if you have any tips.
I think I would say from the RSO standpoint, so maybe like in the position of leading WebEx, it really, really comes down to those like awkward moments in WebEx, if like you're waiting for someone to put you in a like breakout room, don't be afraid to start conversation, call someone out, ask them a question. Everyone knows that awkward silence when it's just everybody looking at themselves, and that is a really tough thing to compensate for. But I think it comes down to not being afraid to unmute yourself and have your camera on, and it's those small things that show that you're taking initiative. And then from there, once you get the ball rolling, I feel like it is way easier to get involved in that organization, keep going if it's a weekly event, just to keep yourself accountable and not being afraid to put yourself out of that place of being complacent. So yeah. Abby, do you have anything to add?
I think you covered most of it. I like using the chat feature in some meetings because I don't like to have my camera or my mic on because I don't want to interrupt people and I don't know what all they're seeing, or I get distracted when my camera is on. So the chat feature for me is like my favorite thing. And just when people are commenting in person, like, or on mic, I'll say, I usually just add my quick thought in the chat, and they usually interact with my response. And it's still a conversation. I'm still like talking to this person. It's just obviously virtual, but whatever you're comfortable with, definitely try to communicate when you can.
Absolutely.
All right, perfect. So shifting from there, just a question for you both. How would you say offices can increase awareness or participation within students?
For sure. So I will go first with this. I am currently kind of overseeing the social media with one of my colleagues, Sophie. Hello, if you're watching. And we have been doing a lot of work to increase our following and just general awareness of our office. So when I first came into the office, we had about 350 followers, and now we have over 1,100. And it's not day and night that happened. We had to put a lot of effort in, figure out what we're wanted to do. And so for one example, something that her and I have done is posting survey giveaways. So having a sort of requirement that in order to enter for a chance to win a gift card or a chance to win a CMU CDC blanket, you have to tag us. You have to fill out a survey that we're trying to learn more about from the students and like our photo and talk to, or if they add this to their story and tag us, they'll gain an extra entry into the survey giveaway. And so that's been gaining us more followers as they're tagging their friends who like spooky things or like cleaning, since this month it's the spring cleaning survey giveaway, and getting more involvement and interaction with not even a lot of effort or work on our part, just having the students kind of reach out to us that way. In addition, we've gone into like CMU University's Instagram and gone to their followers and just started following those people because we're a public account. We don't really, it doesn't matter who we follow because we're there to help everyone. And
oh, I think Abby froze up there for a minute. Did she freeze up for you?
What we do, and then they start to follow us afterwards. So it's definitely, a lot of work, but it's been very fun. And I think that's something that Sophie and I will continue to do over the next year, is just trying to reach out and sending emails to RHDs and professors and student organizations. Even we're starting to branch out to more like people who may be more hands-on with students to get them even involved with spreading the awareness of our office, for sure.
I think that's awesome. And, on the other side of that too, that's a great way for students to get involved with offices too, and find out what offices are doing. For instance, this, Coffee with a Career Coach. There's every other week we're doing different topics that students can learn from. We're hosting different colleges on here. Abby, you're doing this awesome giveaway. You've been doing all kinds of really cool things on our social media. And so this is another great way for students to get involved, just keeping up with different office engagement on social media. And so I think it goes both ways for both students and offices. So I like that social media gives us that outlet, especially in this weird time. So
for sure.
Definitely. No, that's super helpful from a student standpoint, I would say. Oh my, sorry, that's my cat. So sorry. We love the work from home place.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
I would definitely say that also from like being in Alpha Kappa Psi and trying to figure out how to increase awareness for our organization. We did classroom speaking in the like early spring semester, and that was super helpful. And it's basically, I think it just comes down to increasing the amount of students that you come in contact with and spreading that awareness of your name and your brand, you know, that you're there to help people and things like that.
Yeah. And shameless plug, we have one last day for our spring cleaning survey giveaway. So if you're interested, head on over to our Instagram at CMU Career and go to our CDC survey giveaway post to see the instructions on how to enter.
I love
Might
that.
as well just throw that in real quick.
Heck yeah, why not?
All right.
Oh, sorry.
Abby, nope, you go ahead.
I read the thing wrong. It's
You're okay. Go ahead. Go ahead to yours.
Oh, okay. So I got thrown off. My bad.
You're good.
How can involvements you've been in translate to the resume?
So something I think that is super important to know when deciding like what goes on your resume and what not to, is if you have been a part of RSOs or things on campus, if you're a part of different seminars or you volunteer, anything like that, it doesn't all have to be on your resume. I think that that's a really important thing. Something I recently just heard of was creating like a running document of everything that you do, like anything and everything that you go to, even just for the sake of writing it down. And then from there, depending on where you're applying for, then you can kind of pick and choose what's going to apply the most. And I think something else in terms of putting it on your resume, let's say you joined an RSO in a virtual environment, highlight that, emphasize that, and talk about that place of comfort zone and that place of learning how to network and build connections through a screen at home. That is huge, and that shows your desire to grow and learn rather than viewing it as kind of like a negative. I would say turn it into a positive and turn it into, you had to critically think. And if you're on the other side of like an RSO leading it, that's huge as well. Having to be creative and figure out how to spread awareness in a time when people aren't as interested. That's a massive thing. So don't be afraid to kind of like toot your own horn with it and talk yourself up and say, I had to really, really brainstorm and think out of the box in order to get people to come to this event. And on the other side, that's a huge thing for you to log onto a WebEx and meet people and network that way. So just remembering the value of the time that we've been in and being able to kind of like be adaptable and adjust with the current situations around us.
Absolutely. And I love that you said be able to place the emphasis, because it is huge. You know, we've had to make a huge shift. We've had to become extremely adaptable to the changing environment of everything we've done. And so absolutely, Faith, if you're in an RSO or you've attended a conference, maybe you've led a session, you've had to completely adapt what you've done to a virtual environment. You've maybe had to use new software. You've had to change the new method of communication that you've used. And so those are all things that you can now communicate on a resume and articulate on there in a way that you haven't been able to put before, because it's a completely different skill set that you've now developed. And so I think when we're talking about how do we translate that into a resume, well, you know, now we have this whole side of technology, adaptability. And so I think that's something that the Career Development Center is absolutely here to help you with, you know, being able to translate that into a skill on your resume. And I love that you said that, Faith, because that's something that we talk about, is the idea of a running resume and then picking things off of that for what is relevant to the job you're applying to. So that's something that you definitely want to do. You know, you might have things that aren't, extremely relevant to what you're applying for, but you want to have a running list, because I have students come in all the time that say, oh, well, I don't really have anything that I'm involved in. So here's my resume. There's just a few things. And then we start talking, and I literally have a list of like 2 pages because they just didn't think that the things they've been involved in were important. And I'm like, no, those things were very important. They just didn't think of them that way. And so I think having a running list is great. If you've been to a conference, if you've had a certification, anything, write it down, because you never know when those things are going to become relevant to a job you're applying to.
For
Absolutely.
Sure. And I would add to that too, like your LinkedIn can be an ongoing resume, of things you've done, and you don't know who's watching your posts. And that's a good way to kind of hold yourself accountable and remind yourself of even like small, maybe you think mediocre things that might catch the attention of a future employer or connection, or just someone from your past who might reach out again and want to connect with you for something. For example, like I make Mindful Monday posts on my LinkedIn, and one of my old professors actually reached out to me and had me facilitate about work-life balance to her class last semester, because she saw how much I was really involved in the self-care aspect in a professional setting. And so even something that I was just doing for fun, that I was just doing to kind of write about my thoughts and like on the topic, you don't know who's looking at them and might think this would be really helpful for something I'm trying to work on myself or trying to teach to students. So definitely you never know just how far like a post about even just finishing a class project and talking about this, maybe capstone project you just finished for the semester, posting it on LinkedIn and just a picture of you, with your project and explaining why you chose what you did, that could go a really long way down the line. So using LinkedIn to that advantage when you can is also really helpful.
And what an awesome thing you can put on your resume now, Abby. Like, that's so cool. Such an awesome thing you can add. So
that's huge. That's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome that translated into that.
Thank you. It was very fun.
All right, Faith, I think you have a question for us next.
All right. How can you talk about your experiences in an interview?
Ooh, okay. I know that this was for me first. I got so excited I lost my train of thought. So talking about your experiences in an interview, it could be both on or off the resume, right? I almost feel like talking about things that are off the resume are even better because it highlights things that you maybe didn't have even the space for, but still shows something that you're genuinely passionate about or interested in, and shows that you've done things outside of even the most current things that you listed. And it shows just how active and involved you are on campus. And for me, talking about experiences, I always just relate what I try to make sure I highlight a different experience per interview question. So that's also why being involved is important, because then the more involved you are, the more answers you have for different interview questions about leadership, how you manage your time in conflict or working with groups. And the more examples you can have, the kind of better it shows how dynamic you are working with different people, how time management you are, because you have to have all these different organizations you're still keeping track of along with your school. And I think that's just really good. I'll leave it at that.
I like the idea too of in an interview being able to tell a story. So, the resume is your place to list your experiences. The interview is your place to tell a story about those experiences. So, okay, I've listed, yes, I'm an assistant director in the Career Development Center. But now in the interview, I'm getting to tell stories about how I've helped students, how I've gone through resumes, but not only how I helped a student with a resume, how that translated into them maybe gaining some self-confidence and then translating into them getting a job. So that is my chance to tell my story rather than list what I've done. And, the resume serves as a piece for also telling a little bit of a story within our bullet statements, but the interview goes more in depth to tell that story. And so I think that that's really the purpose of talking about our experiences more in depth.
Faith, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I wanted to add on to what you were saying, Abby, about kind of having like a different, I guess, experience with each question. I think this is super, super vital and is very impressive from an interview standpoint, to have like that quantity of things or that amount of involvement. And something else I always think about is there's no harm in leaving things off your resume, because I always think in the back of my mind, just in case there's ever that interview question of tell me something about yourself that's not on your resume. If everything that you've ever done in your entire existence is on that one piece of paper, you know, it's not leaving you much room for that. So I think it's always really cool and shows your well-roundedness if you can have things and pull things from your past that aren't necessarily written on the piece of paper that they glanced over before the interview. So I think that those are all important things to think about.
Absolutely. I like that idea. I think, you know, obviously putting everything that's relevant on your resume, I think that's really huge. But, you know, pulling something from your past that maybe you were involved in that wasn't relevant, that, you know, applies to a question all of a sudden that you want to talk about, because you never know where it could relate. So I think that's a good idea. Kind of keep it in your back pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, Abby, I think you have our last question. And like I said, if anybody has questions out there, please feel free to type them in the chat.
Yes. So what are some good ways to network? And more specifically, Faith, if you wanted to kind of talk about how you got your desk job.
Yeah, absolutely. So how I got my desk job came down to networking. I knew one of the past girls that worked at the front desk through AK Psi, and through that she reached out to me and like some other members that she knew were looking for potential part-time work. And then from there it kind of got my foot in the door and got the ball rolling. Broadening up from that in terms of good ways to network, the first thing I would always say is LinkedIn. You cannot go wrong there. You can't go wrong with sending a message. You can't go wrong with hitting that, you know, send a request button. It is never going to hurt you. And making a post, like you said, Abby, I love your idea of the weekly posts on Mondays. That's so cool. And that just, that shows that you are looking to put yourself in that space to network. Another thing I would say is make those connections in person or on WebEx with professors, with your peers. Don't be afraid to send emails to your professor if you're looking for an internship. They hear so often about, you know, they get contacts from different companies and maybe they just didn't think of you. So put yourself in those situations, and it really comes down to that comfort zone and not being afraid to send a message or get resources and things like that. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because people who have those professional experiences and those connections, I would bet, you know, 9 times out of 10 people are willing to help you, and people want to spread the word and help with your professional development and professionalism.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, on LinkedIn, you know, and this is something that we teach in the Career Development Center, but using our alumni. I mean, there's a specific tool. You type in Central Michigan University and you click on See Alumni. We have over, I want to say 150,000 people on there.
Wow.
And then you can actually specify by major, you can specify by location. You know, I use this example all the time because it's Google. And I mean, it's just, that one always sticks out to me. So we've had a student reach out to somebody at Google before and actually have coffee with them, just by reaching out on LinkedIn. So if you can get to somebody from Google, I feel like the possibilities are endless. I mean, that's such a cool thing to me, that in this time we can literally reach out anywhere in the world and have a conversation with somebody. And, you know, when you do that on LinkedIn, it's not to say like, hey, I need a job, right? That's not the approach we want to take, but saying, you know, hey, could you share some strategies that you use to get into this industry? Or, hey, what do you like about your job? Hey, I'm a student. I noticed you're an alumni. Fire up chips. You know, anything to get the conversation started and to form that networking. It's just such a great idea. So, network wherever you can. Just like Faith said, she got her job through networking. I've gotten all of my jobs in life through networking. So I can't even stress the importance of networking enough. Abby, anything to add to that?
Never doubt a connection, or when you meet someone, how they can help you down the line.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefits to getting to connect with people, and how Faith was saying, your professors, for example, but even your classmates, or just like family. I know that's kind of out more like Facebook-like, but even just having those small interpersonal connections. You never know, again, where we'll lead down the line and how that can help you in the future.
Absolutely. Definitely. Okay, well, we are coming up on half an hour, which is hard to believe because I feel like it's been 5 minutes, but that always feels like that to me. So I'm going to ask for last thoughts. So Faith, do you have any last minute thoughts here on this wonderful Wednesday?
I would say, like, at the end of the day, the worst people can say when you're reaching out is no. And then what? And then, okay, you go on from there and your day goes on. So really do not be afraid to send a message, send an email, to ask for help. I have gotten so many recruiters' emails from my classmates just because I was talking about the job search and they were like, oh, hey, like, I know someone in that. Like, perfect. I mean, you cannot go wrong in that area. And I feel like that's just something that everyone kind of needs to get drilled into their brain in any major, not even just business, but the value of knowing people and trying to make those connections.
Awesome. I love it.
How about you, Abby?
I was going to say, you never, and similar to people, you also never know what experiences will lead you down the line and who you'll meet and what you'll learn and gain from an experience. So similar to, you never know unless you ask for, to network with someone. Similar with an event, you won't know unless you go, and you won't learn anything unless you at least put yourself out there, step outside your comfort zone, and try something that might not be familiar to you, but you're interested in, and you don't know what doors that may open down the line.
Absolutely. I love that. I mean, I feel like I don't even have anything to add. Those were such positive things to say. That was beautiful. I loved it.
Very inspirational. I'm like ready to get moving.
I know, ladies, you have inspired me today. That's great. But absolutely. I mean, don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to network. And the Career Development Center is here for you guys. We want to help so much. We love helping students. I love to see your face virtually so much. I miss all of you in person. So when I get to see you virtually, it's such a great part of my day. So please reach out to us, schedule appointments on Handshake, and thank you for joining us. We will see you in a couple weeks and have a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you for having coffee with us today.
Bye.